The film kicks off at a drilling site amidst an eerie landscape filled with buried human skulls. In the dead of night, Abby, a drilling worker, hears a haunting voice calling her name. She ventures into the dark woods, drawn by the enchanting voice, which leads her deeper into a cave. As she presses on, the voices grow closer until a terrifying demonic creature appears, snuffing out her life as it drags her further into the cave. Fast forward to present-day Ohio, where Blue, a homeless girl, sneaks into her foster home to retrieve her hidden drugs. Her foster mother dozes on the couch with her face turned away, allowing Blue to stealthily move upstairs. Entering her foster brother's room, she uncovers a concealed door in his closet. However, the room has been emptied, leaving her disappointed. Caught in the act by her foster father, she confronts him angrily when he ventures into the secret room with a flickering flashlight. Their interaction turns heated as he tries to persuade her to stay, despite discovering her issue. Unmoved by his words, Blue leaves before others awaken. She heads to her drug-addicted friend's abandoned trailer near the railway tracks. Finding him under a blanket with a syringe, she realizes he's alive but declines his offer to join. Later that night, another worker at the eerie drilling site sets out to find Abby, unaware of the horrors awaiting him. The next morning at the bus stop, tension fills the air as high school kids, there for community service, arrive. Some parents express anger, while others seem indifferent. Police officers Kyle and his colleague keep watch as the kids assemble. Kyle, surprised to see Doug among the group, remains uncertain while the older officer checks for prohibited items. Luce, having hitchhiked to join the group, goes through inspection and boards the bus. Among the 5 kids on the bus are Gary, the nerdy one, Bafani, a rich and spoiled girl, Doug, whose father fights against discrimination, Tiffany, with a crush on Kyle, and Luce, the runaway. Kyle, different from his classmates as a police officer, is there for his father's arranged community service. During lunch, the kids receive simple cheese sandwiches, evoking varied reactions. Gary fiddles with the foil. Tiffany feels overwhelmed and vomits. In the midst of the scene, Bafani, embodying her spoiled nature, refuses to touch the sandwich. Meanwhile, Doug and Luce quietly consume their meals. During this lunch break, Luce discreetly retrieves a hidden razor blade from her mouth, concealing it again after finishing her meal. As the bus transports them to their work site, the older cop drops them off in a remote area far from town. Their task is cleaning up an area bought by Kyle's father for extensive gas extraction through fracking. Despite being seen as privileged, Kyle is just as nervous as the rest. He leads everyone into the woods covered in autumn leaves and a touch of snow. Venturing further, Kyle recognizes Luce as the prom photographer from the previous year, but she remains aloof, focused solely on work. Once tasks are done, Kyle attempts to lead them back, but they get lost, waiting in vain for the bus. Doug worries about their predicament, while Bafani sneakily takes pictures with her phone. Admitting his father's team had been in the area, Kyle suggests finding a drilling site for help. After wandering in circles, they chance upon a cabin. Inside, they find a bag of weed, beer, alcohol, and an old record player, capturing Gary's attention. Conversations steer toward their reasons for community service. Gary was suspected of manslaughter. Bafani faced drunk driving charges. Doug was caught smoking weed, and Tiffany stole a skirt. Luce reveals she ran away after being assaulted by her foster father, shocking the group. Offended by their reactions, she leaves, with Kyle following her, but she walks away despite his attempts to catch up. Tiffany, leaving the cabin to vomit, spots carved names on a tree, assuming a romantic gesture from Kyle, deepening her feelings. However, Kyle confesses he didn't carve their names. Meanwhile, Luce stumbles upon a cave entrance triggered by a booby trap, discovering human bones scattered inside. A lurking demon awaits her in the shadows, prompting her hasty exit. Back at the cabin, they indulge in smoking the suspicious weed, getting increasingly intoxicated. Unbeknownst to them, demonic creatures surround the cabin, luring Kyle out with repeated chants of his name. He heads outside, but Luce intervenes, leading him back in. As she joins the group, they continue smoking. Luce attempts to discuss the unsettling voices she heard in the cave with Kyle, but the others, deeply affected by the weed, brush off her claims and continue their revelry. As they play songs on the record player and revel in their heightened state, connecting with the intoxicated group becomes a challenge for Luce. She opts to sit in a corner, enjoying her own company. Over time, Kyle secretly develops a fondness for Luce due to her unique nature. He declines Tiffany's offer to dance, choosing instead to quietly sit with Luce. As hours pass, everyone becomes increasingly intoxicated while Luce continues sharing her experiences with Kyle. In another room, Tiffany takes a shot of alcohol and proposes telling ghost stories. Bafani attempts a lackluster acting scenario, pretending to be possessed. Luce, unimpressed, remarks on how uninspiring it is and suggests that real-life events are scarier. To spook the others, she tells a tale about a girl confined by her parents in a shed behind their house. Tiffany, displeased with Luce's reactions, interrupts, claiming that Luce is narrating her own story. She goes further, adding that Luce's mother used to frighten her by suggesting child services would give her away to a circus. Tiffany's mockery leaves Luce visibly affected and hurt. As tensions rise, Luce becomes furious, insisting she hasn't disclosed such personal information to anyone. Tiffany, however, claims to read Luce's mind, mentioning a past story about child services and a boyfriend. Skeptical, Luce challenges Tiffany to guess her current thoughts. Tiffany confidently utters the number 247, leaving Luce agitated and bewildered. Amidst the confusion, everyone demands a mind reading from Tiffany. Blushing while reading Gary's mind and laughing at Doug's, Tiffany discovers Kyle's feelings for Luce, which disappoints her. Kyle, attempting to console Tiffany, insists they're not in a relationship. Meanwhile, strange phenomena intensify, with Doug becoming translucent, visible to everyone, including himself. Outside the cabin, a shadowy figure observes them. In contrast, Kyle grapples with confusion, seeing through Doug and believing he's injured. Luce intervenes, suggesting they retire for the night and leave early in the morning. Tiffany, feeling jealous after Kyle's revelation, condescends to Luce, insinuating they're equally frightened inside. As night deepens, the group faces unsettling illusions. Doug picks a room, while the others settle on the sofa. Alone, Doug encounters disturbing cutout doll pieces and is approached by Bafani, whose advances turn eerie when he spots mysterious eyes on the back of her head. Meanwhile, Luce notices Kyle and Tiffany asleep on the couch and seizes the chance to venture outside with her lantern. Kyle, pretending to sleep, decides to follow her. Confirming Tiffany's slumber, he leaves to find Luce. However, Tiffany, pretending to sleep, deceives everyone, and hearing the stereo playing, engages romantically with Gary after reading his mind. Outside, as Kyle reunites with Luce, inside the cabin, Doug encounters bizarre happenings with Bafani. Amidst the chaos, the inner demon within Buffin makes an unsettling appearance, frightening Doug to his end outside the cabin. Inside, Luce admits her feelings for Kyle, but hesitates to act. Kyle takes the initiative by gently kissing her, causing Luce's demeanor to shift dramatically from coldness to blushing. Rushing back indoors, she encounters a nervous and stuttering Doug. Taking Tiffany's spot on the couch, Luce hides under a blanket, expecting Kyle to join her. Unbeknownst to her, the real Kyle is outside chatting with Doug about his first kiss with Luce. In an awkward confession, Doug mistakenly admits to intimate dealings with a demon, leaving Kyle thinking Doug is referring to Buffin. Meanwhile, in the cabin, the demon, disguised as Kyle, slips under the blanket with Luce, causing her to anticipate Kyle's next move. However, the demon takes a sinister turn, choking Luce. As Luce notices the glowing eyes, she screams. The real Kyle rushes in, comforting Luce as the demon vanishes. Luce insists the cabin is haunted or under some ominous influence. Meanwhile, Doug wanders into the woods and falls into a lethal trap, meeting his demise impaled by a sharp log. Suddenly, a man with a lantern stumbles upon Doug's lifeless body, only to realize he's deceased and departs. Upon their return to the cabin, Beanie arrives, inquiring about Doug's whereabouts. Their realization that Doug ventured out and might be in peril prompts the group to grab their lanterns and scour the area. Despite their efforts, they find no trace of Doug, but stumble upon a grim scene at the drilling site. Tiffany, witnessing a horrific massacre of the workers, falls ill and starts vomiting uncontrollably. This devastating turn eliminates Kyle's last hope for rescue. In a desperate attempt to seek help, Kyle suggests fleeing the site. Yet Beanie insists on exploring the area. Beanie ventures into the surroundings while the rest stay put. Meanwhile, the man previously encountered, who had spotted Doug earlier, emerges from hiding and viciously beheads Beanie. Tiffany, somehow sensing the grisly act, starts screaming. Suspecting foul play, Kyle and Luce position themselves on either side of the main door, while Gary arms himself and stands alert. Provoking the man, they successfully trap and confront him. However, as he lunges at Tiffany, Gary intervenes and knocks him unconscious. Returning to the cabin with the captive, they discover it has inexplicably vanished. Securing the man to a tree, they press him for answers. He cryptically reveals the absence of a cabin in the woods from the start, leaving the group torn between their reality and his claims. Unnamed, they refer to him as Adam. Luce, displaying empathy, beseeches Adam for assistance in uncovering the truth. Adam discloses his role as a guardian of the cave and confesses to the confusion caused by the demons, manipulating perception of time and reality. He recounts being part of a drilling team employed by a wealthy individual, Kyle's father, uncovering signals from an Indian well with significant deposits accessible through a cave 30,000 feet deep. Adam recalls a similar incident in Russia, where the Soviets spent 24 years digging a hole. Amidst this revelation, Tiffany admits her inability to read Adam's thoughts. Adam explains that the demons tricked them into believing they possessed extraordinary powers to lure them to the cave's depths. Upon hearing Adam's revelations, the kids are plunged deeper into confusion. Adam exposes how the demons manipulated Indian tribes for generations, leading to the creation of a portal to hell through the deep hole. The demons aim to release Mach, a malevolent entity from the era of Prophet Moses, into the human realm by possessing a host. Adam discloses his vigil over the cave, thwarting attempts to access the hole. He recounts ending Beanie's life inside the cave when she transformed into a demon, preventing her from freeing Mach by using a large bone to stop her. To halt the demon's plans, Adam proposes a plan involving retrieving explosives from the drill site's doghouse to destroy the hole. However, the group dismisses his plea, sparking heated arguments. Fed up with the discord, Luce takes matters into her own hands, deciding to retrieve the explosives alone. Kyle follows her, leaving Gary and Tiffany with Adam. While alone with Adam, Tiffany, driven by madness, admits her intention to aid the demons for ultimate power. As Luce and Kyle secure the explosives, Kyle is unexpectedly locked outside after hearing voices. Inside, the demon lurks, observing Luce. Yet the next moment, Luce emerges with the box of explosives. Meanwhile, Tiffany perceives Adam as an obstacle and attempts to end his life by striking him with rocks. In a turn of events, Tiffany, unable to handle the blood and gore, begins vomiting. Adam, taunting her weakness, is left by Tiffany, who heads towards the cave. Luce encounters Kyle in the woods, urging him to join her in Adam's plan. Kyle tries to dissuade her, citing the significant loss destroying the hole would mean for his father. Despite his efforts, Luce remains resolute and heads for the cave, prompting Kyle to follow. Meanwhile, Gary, searching for Kyle, encounters demons lurking in the woods. A demon assumes the form of Abby, a drill worker, attempting to seduce Gary. Adam intervenes, rescuing Gary from the demon's influence. However, Adam, in his desperation to prevent the demons from manipulating anyone, has resorted to killing anyone he encounters in the woods. Regrettably, Adam, feeling remorseful, apologizes to Gary before tragically ending his life by breaking his neck. Inside the cave, Tiffany surrenders herself to Mach, jumping into the hole. Luce arrives with Kyle and the explosives, reaching the demon hole. As Luce prepares to detonate the explosives, Kyle betrays her, refusing to follow through with the plan. To complicate matters, Tiffany, now under Mach's influence, attacks Luce. In the struggle, Luce manages to wound Tiffany but injures herself in the process. Amidst this chaos, a demon appears and abducts Kyle along with the detonator. Suddenly, an explosion engulfs the place, indicating that Kyle has activated the detonator. The next day, a severely injured Luce regains consciousness in the woods, encountering paramedics and an ambulance. Unaware of the surreal situation, she approaches them and encounters Kyle's father. The individual overseeing the drilling project appears amiable, guiding Luce into the ambulance for medical aid. He directs the police officers to clear the mess at the drilling site and restart the project with fresh personnel. Secretly signaling them to dispose of Luce inside the ambulance, Luce, touched by what seems like Kyle's presence, momentarily believes he's alive. However, Kyle, wearing a malicious grin, discloses that the explosion was merely an illusion crafted to prevent her from thwarting their scheme.